over the whole Whitman Ford complex up in Michigan, and it's just humongous. So everybody take a deep breath, because we are really excited. Tony Youngs has been a full-time real estate for 32 years. He bought a home study system back in '86 at a seminar and actually applied it. Within his first 3 weeks, he stumbled across a foreclosure that was desperately in need of repairs. He bought the property with OPM, other people's money, and renovated it in 88 days. You listen to this guy. Time is money. Later received a check for $27,500.83. That check was equal to a year's wages at his job as an aircraft mechanic, a career he gave up after 5 rapid deals. Tony has literally taken students by the hand here in Toledo and knocked on doors of distressed hidden properties and done this in all 50 states, not just Toledo. Tony still does day-to-day out and acquiring distressed properties every week, and rehabs them, and they have 80 to 100,000 profit potential, and wholesales the rest of them to us, his investors. Tony advocates not making offers, not making. We have him here in Toledo, real estate investors. Welcome, Tony Youngs.
Well, thank you, Anna. Thank you very much. What a great introduction. Sounds like Anna's really been excited with this COVID-19 floating around, because you're really pumped up, man. You've got me all fired up. That's great. Well, it's certainly good to see everybody here. Anna, is there a way you can share the screen with me?
We got an expert here. April, Eric. Tony wants to share his screen.
Yep, working on it.
Eric's working on it.
Okay. All right. Well, I was, wow, I didn't even know you had that picture still. But anyway, so yeah, I was taking my wife to dinner the other night because our restaurants had opened up and they allow at least 50% occupancy. And I pull out of my subdivision, and all of a sudden I noticed the police are pulling me over. And there was no red light that I ran or anything like you, Hannah, but I was going, I wonder why they're pulling me over. So I pulled over, and the officer came up to my door, and he said, "Do you always drive without a seatbelt?" And I looked down, and I didn't have a seatbelt on. And I went, "Oh my God, officer!" I said, "I always wear a seatbelt. I don't know how, what happened." And my wife says, "That's a lie. He never wears a seatbelt." And I looked over at her. I said, "Why don't you just shut up?" And then the officer went over to her window and said, "Does he always talk to you like that?" And she goes, "No, only when he's been drinking." Well, I forgot. There's no audience, so I can't hear if anybody's laughing. Okay, so are we ready to share the screen?
We're all laughing.
Oh, okay.
Tony, down below, you should be able to see a share screen.
Yeah, I'm pressing on it. Okay, it says you cannot start share screen while the other participant is sharing.
Oh,
I'm no longer sharing.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So let's see what we can do now. Yeah,
I hate to take your picture down, though.
There you go.
All right, folks. Let me get this thing going right if I can. Okay, here we go. Now we're doing this the right way. Okay. Now, folks, right now during COVID-19, you know, you would not believe how easy it is to get a deal right now. I don't know why. I didn't expect it. You guys know that I've always been the kind of guy that goes out in the field and I look for houses with no pride of ownership. I'm always looking, driving through neighborhoods, just anybody who doesn't cut their grass, I knock on their door and say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a home in this neighborhood. Would you be interested in selling?" And and I find people going through divorces. I find people that are behind on their payments, but the bank hasn't started foreclosure. But this is a list in front of you of what COVID-19 has brought into the picture. And this is called Life Happens. I want you to remember this. All of these are called Life Happens. Right now, we have a lot of unemployed owners out there. We have some people that are not even allowed to work because their business isn't essential. We have people going through a divorce because of the stay-at-home order we had to endure. I mean, even my wife and I, we were going, "Hey, man, I'll be glad when this is over." So she was going, "When are you going to go on some of your trips?" I said, "Well, I'm getting used to this. I think I won't go anymore." She said, "You better." But anyway, and then there's people dying. We know that, but not just from COVID. That's just life happens. And so there's actually people filing bankruptcy a little more than they were before COVID-19. Because there's just a lot of people that can't pay their bills and they're getting creditors after them, and so they're filing for bankruptcy. And then there's landlords that aren't getting rent. Now, I know that you guys are all collecting your rents because Anna's such a pro at landlording. So I know that she's told you the secret to getting your renters to pay the rent. But all over the nation, other than Toledo, there's landlords that are not collecting rent because there's rent moratoriums. Even in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, about 4 days ago, they extended the eviction moratorium till the end of August. So that just makes renters say, "Well, heck, why do I need to pay rent?" But anyway, and then there's still code violations going on because people are just not taking care of their property. Now, like I say, you guys know me as a guy that I go out looking for good deals with no for sale sign in the yard. They're not on the MLS. They're not, advertised on Craigslist or Facebook. Nobody even knows these homes can be bought. And, even the owner doesn't know his house is for sale until I knock on the door and I say, "Hey, look, I'm looking to buy a home in the neighborhood." So I get great deals. Now, I got to tell you, folks, I come to Toledo and I take you out and we go out door knocking and we find deals. And we share them with the class, the proceeds of the deal. Now, what happened is I was in Grand Rapids last week, and we had a class. It was I've done 2 classes since the stay-at-home order has been lifted. And in Grand Rapids, Michigan, we got a deal from a guy who had actually lost his home in foreclosure, but he was still under his redemption period. And we stumbled across him, and he said, "Yes, if there's anything you could do, I'd like to sell because my redemption runs out in a month." And he goes, "I'd love to sell the house." And he goes, I just, all I need is $4,000. If you could make it where I could walk away with $4,000. So while we were doing the door knocking class, we wrote him an offer and he accepted it. And we thought that, we had to offer what he owed because to redeem his house. And we also had to give $4,000 above that. And I felt that was a little bit too high. But even I did not know what was about to happen. What happened is we just contacted some local investors, and all of a sudden there was a bidding war. Everybody wanted to buy that house from us, and so I was just amazed that there was still a bidding war going on, even at the price we paid. The house was worth 200. We offered 120, and so it was just amazing the way it happened. And then 2 weeks prior to that, I was in Richmond, Virginia, and the same thing happened. We found a vacant, dilapidated house, and when we did our tax assessor search to see who the owner was, it was an absentee owner. And it turned out when we contacted that lady, she said, yes, my husband and I owned that vacant house, but he passed away. So now I'm living with my new husband, and I want to sell that other house. She goes, I still owe $21,000. So I offered $24,000, and she accepted it. And then we contacted some local investors to see if they were interested in buying it from us, and it became a bidding war. I don't know why. I didn't expect that, but we were having people fighting over that deal, and it was just an amazing thing. So anyway, right now there's all these things happening. Let me show you another picture. This is Toledo right here. This is just a typical neighborhood in Toledo. Okay, this is the 43460 zip code. But do you think there's any unemployed owners in this 1 mile radius? Do you think any of those unemployed people are in this radius? Do you think anybody in this radius is going through a divorce? Do you think anybody in this radius is behind on their payments? Do you think anybody in this radius might have just recently died? Do you think anybody's getting old and needs to go into a nursing home?
Tony, your slides aren't moving.
Oh, they're not? So you don't see the map?
We just see the hidden market.
Oh, no. Do you see all these? Do you see a list right here of unemployed owners and all that? Do you see
No.
that? Oh, my gosh.
We're on number 1.
Oh, that is, I didn't even know that because I thought y'all had been looking at that. Let me know when you see a list of about 7 things that says divorce and deceased.
Yeah, we got that one.
Okay. Now, do you see a map now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let me go back. Folks, right now, because of COVID, we have unemployed owners. We have people not allowed to work, people going through divorces. We got deceased people. We got people filing bankruptcy, landlords not getting rent, and code violations. If you can go on some listsource.com website and you can buy list of absentee owners. You can buy list. But think how many other investors buy that same list. When I go out on my own in the field, I create my own list of distressed houses. And every day that I go out, I find 30 distressed houses. And what I do is I knock on all 30 of those doors, and it only takes about 4 hours to do that. But, of course, over 60% of them aren't home or don't answer. But so then I go home and I send letters to them. And I get deals every single week. I've got a machine that goes. So let's go to this neighborhood. Do you see the neighborhood? Do you think there's any of those unemployed people in this 1 mile radius of Toledo, Ohio? Do you think anybody's dying here? Do you think any of these people are behind on their payments? Do you think anybody in this picture might have died recently? Folks, I'm telling you, if you drive these streets and you start contacting people with high grass, overgrown bushes, most neighborhoods I go in, people have pride of ownership. But there's always one house on every street that just doesn't have any pride of ownership. And those are the people I target. That's what I call the hidden market. There's no for sale sign in the yard. Those people may not be interested in selling according to you, but I'm the kind of guy that I figure if they are not taking care of their house, there's a reason for it. So I knock on the door. And I always get deals. Now, real estate has always been a numbers game, always. And so you may knock on 10 doors and only one person might be interested in selling. You may knock on 15 doors and only one person. But those numbers have made me a great living my entire life. That is why I still do it after 32 years. Because, folks, I may have 32 years experience, but it is so extremely competitive. Everybody and their brother wants to invest in real estate because real estate's doing good. The stock market, you never know what that's going to do. So everybody wants to invest in real estate except your children. I don't know what it is about children, these millennials. You say, look, you could buy this piece of crap house, you could fix it up, and you could make a year's wages. And they look at you like, why? Why would I want to do that? I just want to sit on a computer or my telephone all day, But anyway, I don't understand these young people. But anyway, so 32 years experience, I know that I get great deals because nobody else knows about the deals I'm getting. You see, when I go to a house with high grass, or if I send a letter to that house, they're only getting one letter. If I get a list of foreclosure properties, they're getting 40 letters from investors wanting to buy their homes. And that's how I discovered the hidden market, because I go out and I visit foreclosures. But let's say that this house right here is in foreclosure, and I bought a list and I go out and I look at it. I knock on that door and I say, hey, Mr. Foreclosure, would you be interested in selling your home? And he might say, no way. There's a moratorium. I'm going to ride this wave as long as I can. But then when I drive all these other streets, I find a whole bunch more distressed houses. And I knock on their doors and ask them if they want to sell. And when I do, I'm the only one doing that. And they're not getting 40 letters from other investors. But folks, if there's one house for sale in this picture, do you know how many people call that sign, that listed real estate agent sign? Quite a few. So if I go down to the foreclosure auction, I have to outbid every other local investor to get the deal. So if I'm a wholesaler, I certainly can't wholesale to those guys because they could have bought it, But anyway, so if there's that much opportunity in this picture, which is a 1 mile radius, imagine if you expand that radius to 5 miles. And that's what I do. I go out at a 5 mile radius, and every time I go out, folks, every time, I always get something. I always find 30 hidden markets every time I go out. And then out of those 30, I always get at least one deal. Now, if I do that twice a month, that's 60 hidden markets, and I get an average of 2 deals. And if I do 3 weeks, that's 90 hidden market properties. And if I get 1 out of 30, I get 3 deals a month. It just depends how much you're willing to do. Now, I do it every weekend. And just think, all those addresses you have, you're the only one that has that list. And you can keep mailing to that list every month. Once a month, send letters to all those distressed houses you have. And plus, you're adding 30 more every week or every time you go out. So your list gets so big, and nobody in the world has that same list. And so I'm just a firm believer in the hidden market because that's how I get deals. Now, I heard Anna during the introduction. She said that I make about $80,000 profit on a deal. Well, in Toledo, that's a little bit different, but it is true. Last year, I wholesaled a lot of houses to investors, but the ones that have the most profit potential, I go ahead and rehab those. And last year I rehabbed 4 houses, and 3 of those I netted $100,000 net profit after repair cost, after everything. That is the power of the hidden market. There is no way I would have made that much profit if one other investor knew that house could have been bought. But the houses I find when I'm going in these neighborhoods, there's no other investors know that guy's interested in selling that house that day. So since I'm there, I'm working a deal and I get it under contract. And then when I put a dumpster in the driveway, all of a sudden investors start coming by saying, "Hey, what's going on here? You rehabbing this house?" "Yeah." "Well, when did you buy it?" I didn't even know it was for sale. And I said, "That's right. It's called the hidden market." I love the hidden market. I'm going to be doing the hidden market for the rest of my days because it's too competitive to get to buy properties that are on Craigslist or from a wholesaler. Have you ever tried to buy a house from a wholesaler? I was in Phoenix. I came home from Phoenix, Arizona this morning. And when I was out there, there was all these wholesalers that were trying to sell properties at full market price. And the reason they were trying to sell them at full market price, and they still needed 30 or 40,000 in rehab, the reason they were doing that is because it's hard to get a deal in Phoenix, Arizona. But we got 2 deals while I was there. I spent 3 days. Somebody had hired me to do a one-on-one, and we went out for 3 days, and we got 2 houses under contract, and we got them at hidden market prices. What do I mean by hidden market prices? Hidden market prices is that you can make a good enough offer, a low enough offer, that you don't have to worry about someone else making a higher offer. So that's what I call hidden market prices. So these other wholesalers, they pay too much for them, so they try to sell them to you at a much higher price, and it just doesn't work out. Okay, let's see what else we got. Now, folks, when I go out, I take you through the neighborhoods, and I take you by the hand. And last time I was in Toledo, we got a deal, and that's what I do. I just believe that people need hands-on training. Books and tapes started my career. But over the years, in the classes I've taught, most of the people that buy books and tapes, one or two of them are successful. Some of them never even open the books and tapes. They buy them, but they just don't read them or study them. But I take you out in the field to show you that it really works in your backyard. And we get deals. And I do this in all 50 states. I've even door knocked in Alaska. Not proud of it because, what the fear of door knocking is? I mean, people have a fear of door knocking just like they do for public speaking. But there's really no need to be afraid. Now, one of the things I do is I look at the car in the driveway. If it's a Toyota Tercel with a Christmas tree air freshener dangling from the mirror, I pretty much feel safe knocking on that door because I try to picture what kind of person drives that car. But if I see this big, jacked up four-wheel drive with rebel flag bumper stickers and Pabst Blue Ribbon bumper stickers and a rifle rack in the back window with a couple of rifles in it, and then a bumper sticker that says "Have gun, will travel," I picture what kind of a guy drives that vehicle. And then I'm afraid to knock on that door. But, I've knocked on doors for 30 years and, I can only remember being cussed out twice. But, and then I have students that don't knock on doors. They just go around and find these hidden markets and contact them through sending letters. But tonight, I'm going to show you about the new IDI Core website. And if you want, you can drive through these neighborhoods, write down 30 addresses of distressed houses, and then you can call the owners on the phone. So that's one of the benefits of IDI Core. I'm going to get into that in a few minutes. Okay, so what I do, folks, is I get my addresses, and then I go to my tax assessor website, and all I have is an address, so I type in the address. And it tells me who the owner is, and it tells me where the tax bill is being sent. Most of the time, the tax bill goes to the hidden market property, so I send a letter. But a lot of times there's times when it doesn't go to that property. The tax bill goes to a different address. What does that mean? That means absentee owner. That means the owner lives somewhere else. Now, what I do, if the owner lives in the same town, I go to the other address and knock on the door and say, hey, do you want to sell that vacant, dilapidated house over on Secor or whatever? Okay. Now, acquiring properties today at COVID-19, it really opens the door for creative finance techniques because, and I'm talking about owner financing, taking over loans subject to. You can do lease options if you want. I'm not a big lease option fan, but people are, and I used to do them 25 years ago. Or pay cash, you see. So whenever I get 30 hidden market properties and I get all the owners' names, the next thing I do is a title search to see if there's any liens on them. And if there is, I would discount those liens to create more equity in the property. So that's why I do a title search, but I also want to see if there's any federal tax liens. So a lot of times I'll find that out of 30 hidden market properties, 5 of them are free and clear of any loans or liens. And those are great candidates for owner financing. So If you want to buy and hold, the best way to build a rental portfolio, in my opinion, is to find free and clear houses and offer to buy them with owner financing. Now, is that an easy technique to sell to the seller? When you go to a seller and you say, hey, I'll give you cash for your house, do you think it's going to be as easy if you say, would you owner finance it? Well, when you're good at explaining the benefits of owner financing, for him, I guarantee he'll be saying, where do I sign? Because let's take an example. A man has a free and clear house, and you approach him and you say, look, I'll give you $150,000 cash for that house. But after you pay your capital gains and put the rest of the money in your bank account, you're going to be lucky to get 1% interest on that cash. But if you owner finance it, you're actually receiving monthly payments every month for the next 30 years. It's like a pension. It's guaranteed, paid to you every month. So that's owner financing. But in addition to that, we're going to give you 4% interest. So therefore, if I give you $150,000 and you owner finance it, by time you collect all the interest over the term of the loan, you're actually getting $225,000 for your house today. You see? So that's the way you explain it. Why do you think banks loan money to us to buy houses? It's because they loan us $100, we pay them back $250 over the life of the loan. So that's why the banks do it. Well, the owner can be the bank. Instead of me going to Bank of America and getting a loan and making payments to them, I just go to the owner and make payments directly to the owner. And we create a mortgage as a lien against the property. And that's how he's secured. When you present owner financing to a seller, their biggest question is, what if you don't pay me? What if you don't make the payments? Well, I tell him, you've got a lien against the property so you can foreclose and get the house back. But all the payments I've already paid you, you don't have to pay that back. You get to keep those. And now you got a house that's even worth more than it was when you sold it to me. Now, let's talk about subject 2. I read an article a couple of days ago that said right now there's 4.5 million people delinquent on their mortgage. And subject 2 was a technique that people have been teaching for years and years. I actually used that technique hot and heavy for the first 2 years of my career because I didn't have the money to buy a house. So what I would do is I would ask the owner who was in foreclosure, I would offer to make up his back payments, take over his loan subject to, but then after I rehabbed it, I would refinance the house and pull out tax-free cash. That's called a cash-out refi. So I would take over your loan temporarily because your house wouldn't qualify for a bank loan. So I almost had to take over your payments. I would bring your payments current, make payments on it, then refinance with a cash-out refi, which pays your loan off. Now, I would always tell the seller, they would always want to know, how long will you be taking this loan over? And I'd say, well, give me 1 year. It will probably happen sooner. As soon as I get it fixed up, I'm going to refinance it or sell it, but you're going to get paid off. But let's go ahead and just agree on a year just in case things are slow. Okay. So that was a great technique, and you can use that in times like these. I'm not even going to talk about lease options and cash. Cash is always king. Okay. Now, so today, what are your exit strategies? The reason I talk about this is because of COVID-19. When COVID-19 first happened, I was thinking, oh my gosh, what's this going to do to the real estate market? And I said, well, buying houses is still going to be the same. I said, if it affects anything, it's going to affect how we exit the property. Do we wholesale it? Do we rehab it and flip? You see, I was thinking COVID-19 was going to ruin the rehab and flip game, because I figured the banks were not going to give loans anymore during this time. And I figured homes weren't going to sell, because I thought that it was really going to hurt the market. And if I rehabbed a house, I wouldn't be able to sell it because nobody's buying and banks aren't giving loans. But none of that really happened. I think there was a slowdown during the spring buying season, but it's picked back up. You see, when the stay-at-home orders lifted, people were anxious to get out there and get homes. And the problem is, most of the nation right now is suffering from low inventory. There's just not a lot of houses on the MLS. So therefore, the ones that are on the MLS there's more and more people that still want to buy a house today. And so it's creating multiple offers. So now, because of those 4.5 million people delinquent on their payments, I think by the end of the year, we might see a little bit of effect on that. It will be nowhere near 2008 and 2009. We're going to see a little bit of an effect, which is good for you and me, especially if we're out there door knocking. But there's always going to be people that have plenty of money to buy real estate. So buying and holding, I recommend if you buy and hold, you don't over leverage yourself by just keep getting a bunch of bank loans to buy rental houses. I recommend you use owner financing, sub 2, but owner finance is my favorite if I want to keep something. And when you use the hidden market strategy, you would be surprised how many free and clear houses there are in Toledo, Ohio. And those are great candidates for owner financing. So that's my strategy. Whenever I send out, say, 30 letters, when I get a call, if it's free and clear, I want to approach that owner with owner financing. I want to see if he's willing to sell with owner financing. And then I will keep that property as a rental because the owner is financing. Another benefit to owner financing for you and me is that does not show up on your credit report. If you got a loan from your credit union or Bank of America, it's going to be on your credit report, and it's going to drag your score down. And it's going to show the world that you have additional debt. But if the owner financing never shows up on your credit report, it doesn't affect your credit score. How many of those loans could you get? So that's what I choose to when I only buy and hold if it's a free and clear house today. In the past, it was a different story. My goal was to build up as many rentals as I could at any strategy. But now I don't take on additional rental houses unless a hidden market owner has a free and clear house. Okay, let's talk about IDI, this website that Anna was talking about. That thing has been the missing link in my career. I didn't believe there was a missing link in my career until I found IDI Core. You see, it's a skip tracing website, and because when you go out in the hidden market, you're going to find probate situations. And you're going to find people or vacant houses that the people are hard to find, but not so with IDI Court. Let me give you an example. You see this name? I put in Frank Marmon. Now, what happened? I found a vacant house, and I knocked on the neighbor's door, and I said, listen, do you know anything about that house next door? I see it's vacant. I'm looking to buy a house in the neighborhood. And I just wanted to know, do you know where those people might have went? And the neighbor said, oh, the guy, the husband died, and the wife did not want to live alone, so she checked herself into a nursing home. So I said, do you know how to get in touch with anybody, which nursing home they went in or that lady went in? And I said, do they have any other relatives? And she said, yes, but they all live a long ways away, but I don't know anything. So I went home and I went on the tax assessor website, and I also Googled this guy's name because I wanted to read the obituary. Because the obituary says that Frank is survived by, and it tells the names of his children and and their children. And an obituary usually gives you all these names. So I would always try to Google those other people's names to try to find them. And sometimes I would be successful, but not all the time. But this IDI Core website, after I put in the guy's name, over here, it gives me all of his relatives. And you see, this is the deceased guy, and if it has a red D there, that means he's deceased. They always tell you the ages of the relatives and the deceased. See, here's Daryl Marmon, Carol Marmon, they're 66 years old. There's Karen Webb, there's Randy Marmon, Lisa Marmon. There's all the relatives. And notice these are all in blue. That means if I click on them, it gives me their cell phone numbers. It gives me their email addresses. You see, right here is a list of, if it says R, that's residential. And it tells you how current it is. It says, as of April 1st, 2020, this is his home landline. If it says the word C, that's his cell phone. He's had that cell phone number since 2016. And if it says O, that's his office. I don't recommend you call people at their office. But anyway, out of all these phone numbers, we know that Frank is not going to answer because he's deceased. So what we do is when you find a vacant house, you know that one of the relatives is who you need to contact, especially if he's just recently passed away. So what you do is you click on one of the relatives and it gives you all their phone numbers. I'll do that in a minute, but I want to tell you a little bit more about what this site does. Over here, these are all the places that Frank has lived, and if you see two addresses that are in the same date range, that probably means he owns a rental house or maybe a second home somewhere. But this is all the places he's lived. Over here, like Anna was saying, it tells you if he has any liens on his property. And if it does say liens and it has yes in blue, if you click on that, it opens up all the liens on his house. If down below that it says judgments. Now, Frank has no judgments against him, but if he did, it would say YES in blue, and you click on it and it opens up the judgments. And also possible criminal infractions. Why do we need to know that? Well, if you are dealing with an owner and they have criminal infractions, go ahead and click on it and see what has he been charged with, or what did he do in the past. And the reason we do that is because if we're going to go meet that person to make an offer, if they've been arrested for murder and terroristic threats and all that stuff, I'd be a little afraid to go talk to the guy. And also, this site comes in handy for tenants. Let's say you've got a house up for rent, and you've got someone that wants to meet you at the property. You can see if they have any possible criminal infractions that might make you afraid to go meet with the person, especially if you're alone. So, this skip trace site, I have used it galore. I'm maxing out my 100 searches every month because I'm looking at a lot of properties. But what my favorite thing about this is every time I go out, I find at least one probate deal, sometimes two. So let's go to the next slide as if I clicked on one of these relatives. Okay, so Randy Marmon, he's the son. Look over here. The first thing I see is his cell phone number. I can call him. I could say, Randy, listen, I saw a house over on Beckwith Trail, and I just want to know, would you guys be interested in selling that home? And if he says, that he might say, well, you need to talk to my sister Carol. She's the executrix or the executor or the personal representative. So that's why it's a benefit to have all the relatives' names and numbers. And here's another thing that I love this site for, because I ran across a deal in California, and the guy had died, and he had no relatives. And so you see where it says A? You see, let me try and get my mouse here. If you can see my mouse, it says relative, relative, relative. And then when it says A, those are associates. So the guy in California that died, he didn't have any relatives listed, but he had some associates. And I was able to crack the code because I called one of the associates. And you're going to hear another great story about something that happened recently because of this site. But, this Randy is a son, so I can call and find out. Now, I also, if he doesn't answer the phone or if I leave a message, I can send him an email. Here is his valid email address. And then here is his address where he lives in Greensboro, which, like the neighbor said, that's a long ways away from the house I'm trying to buy, which to me is a plus because, that means the relatives, it's not easy for them to come over and fix up the house to try to get a higher price. So it's kind of a greedy thing for me, but if all the relatives live a long ways away, they're not going to be wanting to come over there all the time and clean out the house, and so they're going to be ready to sell that probate house. Let me see if I can scroll down a little and see anything else. So these are all the homes that Randy has lived in, one of the sons. Just remember, the C stands for cell phone, the R stands for residential, which means a landline. But folks, I'm telling you, I used to have to do a series of 10 things to try to find the information this website has. It is awesome. I could just go out and find my 30 hidden markets today. I can come home and I can start calling all those owners if I want. Let's say that when I was out there, I knocked on 30 doors, but I only actually spoke to 8 people, and the rest of them weren't home. I can come home that night and get on this website and call them and see if they're interested in selling. Now, I usually send letters to them, but now I can call every one of them if I want. And here's another thing is I do go ahead and send letters too, because I'm a firm believer in attacking it from every angle. When I go out in the market, if I see a distressed house and I'm going to knock on the door, I'm going to leave a flyer on the doorstep, I'm going to send a letter to the owner, and I'm going to try and call the owner. That's what I mean when I say I'm attacking it from every angle. Now, folks, if you have any questions, start writing them down because I am going to have a Q&A after this. Okay, now this house, I am actually rehabbing this house as we speak. This is a hidden market where a couple of months back, I noticed this house was very distressed, and it had this truck. It was always in the carport, but it never moved, and there was a car. But I kept leaving flyers on the doorstep. I'd knock on the door. I would leave flyers. I did all this stuff. And I never got a response from this guy. But, this is after the house has been cleaned up a little bit. So it was really scary. It looked haunted. But I spoke to the neighbor over here and I said, hey, do you ever see that guy? Every time I drive by, I have never seen this guy. Is there really someone there? And she said, yes, he only comes out about once a week to get his mail. And maybe once a week he'll drive his car to the grocery store. But he keeps to himself. And I said, see, he would get, every once in a while, he would get a code enforcement notice on his door because his yard was always terrible. So I kept asking the neighbor, I said, I'd really like to buy that house. I think he'd be better off in a condo or something, because obviously his health won't allow him to take care of the house. Because I'm telling you, folks, this neighborhood is very nice. If you could see the house next door, it's immaculate. And the one over to the left is immaculate. So this is an eyesore in the neighborhood. So I just felt, I want to buy it, but I think the guy himself needs a condo, because for some reason he cannot take care of this property because of life happens. So the neighbor told me that, that he just, he won't ever talk to any of the neighbors, so they don't know much about him. Well, one day, recently, very recent, because I just acquired this property, the neighbor called me and said, "Hey, you're not going to believe this. The guy died. And he's only 62 years old, but they found him dead in his house." And so she called me to say, "I bet you'll be able to buy it now." So what I did, folks, is I went on the IDI Core website. Oh, the neighbor actually told me that all of his relatives had died before him, years before him. She said he has no family whatsoever. But I went on this website, this IDI Core, and I found his mother's sister. The guy that lived in the house, this website revealed that his mother had a sister. Because when I brought up the deceased guy, it said his mom and dad's name. And I clicked on his mom's name, and then his mom had relatives. So that's another benefit to this site. Every one of these people you click on is another lead source as far as finding someone that you can buy the house from. So when I found the mom's sister, she was in Colorado, and I contacted her and said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know, I don't know if you heard, but, Perry died." And she said, "Oh, my goodness." She goes, "I haven't seen or talked to him in over 15 years. Well, I told her, I said, "Do you realize that you are his only blood relative?" And she said, "Well, you know, that makes me feel even worse because I never hardly ever talked to him." And I said, "Well, here's the reason I'm calling is this guy has a lot of stuff, and all of his house and everything is going to go back to the state unless you file a claim as a blood relative." And she said, "Well, I'm 70 years old." And she goes, "I don't really want to get involved." And I said, "Well, I will personally pay cash for that house, but it's going to go back to the state unless you apply to become the personal representative." And I said, "It's not hard." I said, "I can give you the names of a couple of lawyers that could handle everything for you." And I said, "It's going to put a couple of $100,000 in your pocket." And she said, "How's that?" I said, "Well, because if you're the only blood relative, so if you apply, you get everything. And if you'll sell me that house, I pay cash and you'll get the proceeds." So she said, "Well, now I'm interested." So she talked to the lawyers. The lawyer said, "Okay." hey, I need a death certificate to get this started. And the lawyer did his own search to see if there were any other kinfolk anywhere. And so he told her, he goes, hell, once we get the death certificate, it's going to be a slam dunk. Do you realize, folks, but because of COVID-19 and the courts being slow, it took forever for that death certificate to show up. So, because the courts weren't doing anything, nobody cared. So I told her to contact the funeral director and see if they have a copy, and they did. So they sent that to the court, but even the lawyer said, I can't really close this case until it shows up in the court because it's not a certified official copy. But anyway, so that's the story, folks, is how powerful this site is. Do you know that no other investor would have probably been able to find that relative in Colorado, or would even be able to teach them how to become the personal representative at that? Now, some people would, but not all. Okay, and then you see this house, folks. Now, that 1 week ago, that was put on there about 6 weeks ago. But see, even in Georgia, we were under a stay-at-home order for at least 2 weeks, but we were allowed to go to the grocery store. I got this property on the way to the grocery store. I saw it and I wrote down the information. I used the IDI Core website to find the owner, and so that what happened is the owner was an investor that just flat ran out of money, and he didn't know what to do with this house. So at first he wanted me to partner with him. He said, hell, if you'll put up the money, we'll split the profit if you'll give me the money to finish rehabbing it. But I said, well, I'm not really interested in that, because what I found out is he had already borrowed money from another investor to rehab it, and then he ran out of money. So I didn't want to get involved in that story. So, all right. Now, okay, folks, I wanted to tell you that I am going to do one of my 3-day hand-holding, door-knocking tours in Toledo, Ohio. And it's going to be September 19, 20, and 21, because I think the dust will settle by that time. Now, you know, I didn't do any hands-on trainings for other people during, March and April and May, but I just started doing them. And I did Richmond, Virginia. We've been highly successful. We did Grand Rapids. I'm doing Troy, Michigan in the very near future. And I am just amazed at how talkative all these people are. Now, when we go, we're going to be wearing masks. We drive in separate cars, so we're going to practice our own social distancing. But let me tell you what's happening when we knock on the doors. What I do is I only take 2 students with me to a door, and then when we go to the next door, I take 2 different students. Because when I do Toledo, we usually have about 10 people. So we just keep rotating, but we knock on a heck of a lot of doors that weekend. And so the people, they come to the door without mask, and they don't even seem to care, because I'll be wearing a mask. Now, what I do is I knock and I stand back 6 feet, and I hold my mask down to my chin so they can see my face, and then I pull it up and I start talking. But nobody in all these doors I've knocked on since COVID-19, Nobody seems to be paranoid, going, "Oh my God, get away from me!" It's amazing. It's like there's no pandemic. I have to remind them there's a pandemic. This one guy, when I was up in Phoenix, one of the deals we got under contract yesterday, his house was such a disaster inside that when I knocked on his door, he immediately stepped outside and closed the door. And he got within 6 feet of me, and I had to back up. I'm saying, I had to remind him, hey, there's social distancing. So the guy, what it is he wanted to sell his house. And I said, well, when can we see the inside? And he goes, oh, not right now. Well, he told me that he said that he wants to sell. He said, prepare an offer and bring it back. So when I went back, there was a skylight on both sides of his front door. And I peeked in, and man, that house he was living in real filth. But that's why he didn't want me to see the inside. That's why he came outside. Okay, now, folks, so what I'd like you to do is consider signing up with Anna for this. If you do sign up this week, I will lower the price to $997. Now, here is the benefit. Number one, if we get a deal, I wholesale it and I share it with the class. So there's a chance, if we wholesale it, we may make $5,000. That's how much we made. $5,500 for the class last time I did one of these in Toledo. But see, the real benefit is you know how to do it from start to finish. Because I take you by the hand, we go out, we say, here's a house. Let's see if they want to sell. Let's go do all of our processing and due diligence, and let's write up an offer. Let's submit it. And then we get it accepted. And then we wholesale the house. And another benefit for you is that you're going to get my brand new home study system. So let me see if I can find a picture of that. Yes. Uh-oh. Do you guys see a home study system on the screen?
Yes, we do.
Oh, you do? Okay. Now, folks, this was just created. It just was released May 5th. May 5th. This is brand spanking new. Now, last time I was there, I had a similar home study system, and I'm telling you the truth, and you know this, that a lot of gurus, they just put new covers on their old systems, but not Tony Young's. This is an entirely brand new system for COVID-19 and beyond. And you see this thumb drive over here? This entire system is on that little thumb drive too, in case you're one of those e-junkies. Because you see, we're at an age now where a lot of people say, hey, CDs and DVDs is not, I don't even have a DVD player anymore, or I don't have a CD player in my car. So all audios and videos are on this disc. And then there's two really good brand spanking new manuals. There is nothing in this system that is in my old system. As a matter of fact, just to prove it, I've got my old system on thumb drive now, and sometimes as a bonus, I'm willing to do that for you if you sign up this week for $997 for the 3-day training, the new home study course, And I'll give you a copy of the old one on a thumb drive only. But you will get this big package, thumb drive and this. So here's another thing you could do. Let's say that you like the thumb drive. Hell, you could sell this on eBay, or you could give it to your relatives for Christmas, and then you could have a partner in the business. And that's not all, folks. I know that sounds cheesy, but most of you that know me know that every single week I do a coaching call, just like this webinar that we're on right now. I do that every week, but I'm constantly teaching you how to do title work, how to use the IDI Core website, how to do a ownership search, how to do comps. Every week I do a different topic to keep you updated and motivated. And those calls go on for a whole year. But if the minute you sign up, you are immediately you start getting trained by those weekly webinars. My next one is Thursday. So if you want to be on Thursday's call, you would definitely want to sign up before Thursday. And also, I think what I'm going to do as an extra bonus is for everybody that signs up for this training, I'm going to do a special webinar just for the people that sign up to get you started. I guess it'll be about 2 hours. And I can do that this coming Saturday from 9 to 11. For anybody that signs up before Saturday, I'm going to do a special training just to get you going. I will have you guys getting deals before I ever come back to hold your hand. How would you like to do a deal or two before I even come out there to take you door knocking in September? You're going to make a lot of money, folks. My students are making it. Last time I was in Toledo, we found a deal while we were out there, and I wholesaled it for the class. I don't take any of the money. I just split whatever we find with the class. And if we find 30 of them, I keep coaching you to follow up on those other 29. And we could get a bunch of deals out of it. But my ultimate goal is to teach you how to become a very successful hidden market real estate investor that produces income every month for yourself. Because that's why I do it, folks. If I'm wholesaling 3 deals a month and I'm rehabbing 3 or 4 houses a year and I'm making close to $500,000 a year, then that's good income. You don't have to worry about being a millionaire today. Let's just start with, $20,000 a month. Let's start with, $250 a year. And I continue to coach you every single week for a whole year. There's no way you can fail unless you choose to fail. Okay, Anna, what I would like to do is I would like to just take Q&A if there's time left. That's what I would like to do. Is that okay?
Of course it's okay. We have Eric here that's going to cover any questions coming in. So what kind of questions would you like to field?
Well, just any questions they have about anything, but the market, maybe they're involved in a deal and I can help them get over that little hurdle. Maybe they want to know something about the hands-on training. Maybe they want to know something about the new home study. Or I could actually open up my IDI Core website and give a few more trainings on that. Those are all things that you could ask questions about. But I forgot to really emphasize that, remember, you saw the price of $14.97. But if you buy this week, you get the 3-day hands-on training. You get the home study system shipped to you this week. You get the weekly training webinars for a whole year. And of course, you can call me or email me with any questions you have. That's all for $997 this week. Now, I also want to mention, Anna, that I also do one-on-one training. I just got in from Phoenix, Arizona this morning. I've spent the last 3 days training one student, and that is $4,997. Out of that, I pay my own expenses, my own hotel, airfare, rental car, food, but I spend 3 days with just you and your spouse, if you want to include your spouse. But I trained that one person for 3 solid days up in Toledo or wherever you live. And so I just wanted to mention that. So you can be a part of a class for $997, or you can get me to come up and just spend 3 days with you personally. Okay.
Let me say this, Tony, you are so hands-on. I mean, I don't think any of our people have ever gone away without having accomplished a house. And you are the only mentor that we actually allow in Toledo Real Estate Investors, because you do both. I mean, you'll do the one-on-one at wonderful bargain rates, or I mean, like it's 1/5 of what anybody else charges. And we know that your prime objective is to make sure these people you go out with one-on-one get a house. But having said that, you also do what you just offered here, which if, for a bargain price, shall we say, you can actually go out with the group. You still get all the education. You still end up with, a purchase and how to do it step by step. And that's exactly why Toledo RIA only has had you as a mentor for the last 2 decades.
Yes. And I got to tell you, folks, if you need more references, I have tremendous amounts of success references of other students I've trained. And, if you need that, I just don't like to use up the club's time just going testimony after testimony. I like to get into some meat. And I hope you got some meat tonight. I know that I gave some really good points and tips tonight, but what I like to do is take you by the hand, because Anna, I see where people have gone to these big seminars and they've spent $40,000 and $50,000 for those big seminars and never got a deal.
And in Toledo, you could buy 4 houses for that $40,000.
That's right. So I don't understand why they do that. Well, folks, here's what I believe that is. Those big companies are legitimate. They are education companies. Their goal is to sell education. And they don't care whether you're successful or not. You go to the first class, and then they sell you into a bigger class, and then they sell you into a bigger class. I am a trainer. I'm not an education company. I take you by the hand and train you. So there's a big difference in training and education. But while I'm training you, you're getting educated. But I'm not knocking those big companies, but think about it. I've had so many people say, I paid $40,000 for the big seminar, and I learned more when I spent 3 days with you than I do with them. So, just because they charge 40 and I charge 997 doesn't devalue me. It's just that I'm a one-man show, so I don't have to pay 400 employees. I don't have to pay for an expensive hotel ballroom. And then when you go to those big seminars, notice there's 10 staff members, and you're paying for their hotel, their airfare, their meals in those expensive hotels. You're paying for all of that. You're paying for that ballroom. But see, that's why, I can still do trainings at a affordable price, and it's a damn good price. And you get tenfold your money's worth when you deal with me. And there's some people there at the Toledo RIA that can justify that or verify that. Because, when I came out last time, we got a deal, and I hung through with them, and they were afraid to put it in their name, so I put it in my name, and I came back to Georgia, and the investor that bought it went to closing, and then they sent me the check, and I immediately went and sent it to the students in Toledo. So
let me mention how important that is. Tony's too shy to toot his own horn, but the truth is that he has a financial network. So you do all this work, you find all the property, you learn how to do it, and in the end, if finance is the problem, Tony's got the network to take care of that too. You're never left on the last step and not being able to complete. And also very, very important is this is not some pie in the sky of what it is in New York or California. This is in Toledo. This is what works in Toledo, what's affordable in Toledo, and this is how to do it in your in your own hometown. So I think those are the two things that are very important. It's complete from beginning to end, and it's complete in our local area.
Absolutely. That's another thing, is how many seminars have your members been to where they had to go to some other state to be trained? And what good is that if you're in Toledo? You need to be trained in Toledo, in my opinion. Now, in my trainings, here's what we do. I take you to your local courthouse to teach you how to do title searches to see if there's liens on properties. When we're out in the field, of course, we analyze and we inspect and we estimate repairs on houses that we're going to make offers on. But the real benefit is the talking to the owners. I mean, when you're standing right next to me, watching me talk to owners, it gives you confidence. And sometimes it makes you so confident you get involved in the conversation. And I love that, because that's what you're really fearful of, is how is this owner going to react while we're standing at his front door. So you see how easy it can be if you just be yourself. Now, I would really love for you guys to ask some questions.
We do have a question, Tony.
Okay.
Question is, for seller-financed deals, do you have any tips for a solid P&S contract?
Purchase and sale contract?
I'm assuming that's what it means. If not, Joe, you can actually hit your unmute button and you can talk direct with Tony and make sure we're talking the same kind of contract.
I'm sure Joe is talking about purchase and sale.
I think so too. So go ahead.
So, yes, I've been using the same purchase and sale contract for 30 years. My lawyer, I got a contract from a bank once to buy a bank property.
Mike is broken.
His mic is? Oh, yeah.
Sorry, his mic, he popped up. Mic is broken, but yes, he's talking about a purchase and sale contract. Sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
Well, for everybody on the call, a purchase and sale contract is a standard contract. You see, if there is a real estate agent in the yard, sign in the yard, you have to use a realtor contract. But when you're dealing with someone that is not on the MLS and it's just an agreement between seller and buyer, you can use a standard purchase and sale contract. So I've been using the same one for years. It doesn't really matter what contract you're using. What I believe is important is the contingencies and the clauses you put in the contract. And that's what I'll be teaching for those of you that sign up for either one of these trainings. And I'm going to have a Saturday class. I'm going to get you going out in the field, and I'm going to be teaching on that webinar how to write the offers with a lot of, my favorite contingencies, because that is the most important thing. A purchase and sale agreement says it has a blank for a seller's name. That's easy. You write the seller's name. It has a blank for the buyer's name. It has a blank for the purchase price, whatever you're offering. But then on the next page is where it says special stipulations. And that's where you really need to know what to put in there to protect yourself. Okay. So I'm going to be teaching that on my Saturday class this coming Saturday. But that's only for the people that signed up this week sometime. Okay. And by the way, for those that do sign up, you talk to Anna. You just go to Anna. Anna, what do they do? Call you, or is there a website they go to? You're muted.
You're muted. Mike put his number out there for people to call him to sign up, or his email.
Yeah, I've got my phone number and email. You can call me and we can get you set up. If you want to just write it down real quick, my phone number is area code 419-350-8439. And my email is MACERV as in Victor I, the number 1 at Gmail. So that's, and Anna, you were muted, so.
Okay.
I'm actually putting it in. It's the phone number is 419. Mike?
It's 419-350-8439. So
I got that. So we're putting that in chat right now to contact Mike to RSVP.
Okay.
And his email's already there.
And your home study system, once you sign up, Anna and Mike is gonna give me your address, and that system will be shipped immediately. And then you'll be on Thursday's training webinar. You'll get an email from me with a link, just like you did for tonight's class. That's how those weekly webinars work. Any questions, folks? Come on with it. This is a great time to pick Tony's brain if you think Tony's brain has any value. All you got to do is open your mic and ask a question. If you're shy, just make sure the camera's not on you.
Yeah. I have to say that in most cases, the Toledo RIA meeting, we don't see much in chat. But you've got people excited because we have had about 4 or 5 votes on the Donata House from Kimball.
Oh,
for the Northwest Ohio Food Bank. So
yeah,
they're listening to you and competing.
All right. Well, that's great, man.
If
I go ahead.
Well, if I can make a plug for Tony, I'll tell you, I've been through his course. I have his course. He is one of the best teachers I've ever seen. I just really, really enjoy. He holds your hand and shows you exactly what needs to be done, and he's one of the few people that will actually do that. And then, like he says, you get on for a year, you can get on his web calls, and he's walking you through everything. So it's one of the best. It's one of the things that got Alice and myself, into real estate in the first place. So we really enjoy it, Tony.
Well,
And how
thank
many
you.
properties do you have now, Mike?
I'm around 14 doors right now, 15 doors, somewhere in there.
That's pretty darn successful. Thank you,
That
Tony.
is, yeah. That's great, man. So, yeah, let me think of some questions to ask myself.
Yeah, I think mostly people just don't know what to ask. You've given so much information, and ID Core is something new. So,
Well, that's the thing about IDI Core. If you like that website, you should contact Anna to see how to sign up for that website, because it's a game changer. I'm telling you, folks, I've been investing 32 years and I've always had to go to Google and try all these different ways to find people. And just the fact that this was the missing link, and now it's catapulted the amount of people I can contact when I find these vacant or probate situations out there. And I would be much wealthier today if I'd have had a site like that, because you wouldn't believe how many deals I've lost because I could not find the owner of a property. And it's excellent. So you contact Anna to sign up for that. Is that through National RIA?
yes, that's a new benefit through National RIA.
Yeah.
So we can definitely take care of that. And if we have any questions come up in the future, we'll definitely get those to you also.
And if you were one of my associates or students, you'll be learning about that website quite often, because on my weekly trainings, I will be, always showing how I'm using that website.
And that's a real added bonus too, because now you also have the instructor on this new benefit that shows you all the nooks and crannies and just the amazing information you can get. You're going to feel like the IRS.
Yeah. Or the way I put it, I felt like a private investigator. That's what I felt like.
It's true.
Because I hired a private investigator once, and I said, well, I'm thinking about getting a private investigator license so I can find these people. He said, well, I said, what does having a license do for you? He goes, it gives you access to websites that normal people can't. And this website is very similar to what a private eye uses. As a matter of fact, I'm sure some private eyes do use it. But also I teach a lot about websites. My home study system has, if you're dealing with a homeowner who says, I can't sell you my house right now because I'm in bankruptcy. Well, I have a complete DVD training in your home study course that teaches you how to look at the bankruptcy case, and you're looking for a certain document which gives you the right to buy that house. And the owner doesn't even know about that document, but I do. So if an owner wants to sell, but he says he can't sell because he's in bankruptcy, there is a way to buy that house. So that website is very valuable too. And then and that's free, that website. And then I'm really good at due diligence research, ownership searches, title searches to see if there's any liens, civil searches to find people, divorce files. I'm really good at when a neighbor says, "Oh, you might want to talk to Joe over there across the street. He's going through a divorce." I can tap into the courthouse and see a lot of information about their divorce, which would help me to structure the perfect offer for their situation. And those are the what I call the superior techniques when you're investing in real estate. Little tricks of the trade that helps you to tweak a situation or a deal that just makes it a powerful, it gets the money in your pocket.
Hey,
Well, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So when you're approaching these individuals and having these conversations, at times it can be sensitive, right? Where, they are going through foreclosure or, there's some sort of stress, on their situation. How do you handle or approach opposition, right? When you're trying to navigate or put together a deal, you approach an individual and say, "Hey, Tony, I'm interested in buying property in the area," or whatever, and you get opposition to that. How help me out with trying to navigate that?
Well, you've always got to be the peacemaker and diffuse the situation. So if you see someone well, first of all, they're all stressed out because of the situation they're in. So you just got to talk to them in a calm, tactful, senseful way to sort of help them feel good. And the number one secret for diffusing the situation is to look them dead in the eye. Because if you have that eye contact with them while they're stressed out, you will actually witness their stress starting to relieve. I mean, I've seen it so many times because they come to the door stressed out, and I'll just look them dead in the eye, and I'll just speak softly, and but that eye contact is very powerful because it builds trust. And I just say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a house in the neighborhood, and I thought you might be interested in selling your home." And so they'll say, "No, I'm not interested in selling the home." And I'll say, "Well, do you know anybody else in the neighborhood that might be interested in selling?" And all of a sudden, they're starting to lighten up a little bit, and they may start to talk to you a little more. And then I'll say, "Do you know any vacant homes in the neighborhood that somebody's abandoned that I might be able to buy?" And that gets a conversation off of their situation to where they can talk now. You see, so you're actually getting them off of their situation and talking about another one. Another thing that you could do, if you're going to a door of someone that's in foreclosure, if there is a house across the street or down the street that is listed on the MLS, ask about that. Just say, "Hi, yes, I've been trying to call the sign in the yard, but it just goes to voicemail," which is true. "And I'm just curious to see how much they're asking for that house. Do you happen to know?" And so therefore, their stress level goes down because they thought you were coming to talk to them about their foreclosure. So you're asking about another house across the street. And then they'll start telling you what they know. And that's building the rapport with you. And then I just say, "Yes, I'm really looking to buy a house in this neighborhood." And sometimes, by surprise, they'll say, "Well, what kind of house are you looking for? Because I might be interested in selling mine." So therefore, you just talk to someone in foreclosure and you never ask them to sell their home. They brought it up because you were asking about the house across the street. I do that a lot, but there's not always a house across the street to bring up. So when that's the case, and if someone is very stressed out, I just say, "Well, listen, would you take my card? I know this is not a good time, but here's my card if you have any questions. Have a nice day.
That's excellent.
And I've even seen it where when I'm walking away, they calm down a little. They'll say, you know what, come back here a minute. Let's talk. So, but I told you out of 30 years of door knocking, I only remember 2 times that I got cussed out. And one of them was they didn't even open the door. I knocked on the door and I heard someone cussing me out through the door, going, go away, get off my property. And I said, could I say something? And he goes, what? I said, your mouthwash ain't working. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So that's, and I didn't necessarily mean like aggressive opposition, more of just well, that could be part of it, but too, I would imagine what you receive a lot more is the non-committal, the kind of wishy-washy. Yeah, no, I'm not really sure I want to sell. I do the driving for dollars or this program that you're talking about as well. It's similar, right? Where you're looking for those distressed properties. And one of the last ones that I approached was a gentleman. He actually only visits the property to mow it about once a week, and I just so happened to be driving by. And, I asked him kind of what the situation was, or if he'd be interested to sell. And just really got the non-committal, like, yeah, I'm not real sure what I want to do with it yet, right? And so I left him my card and just said, hey, when you know more or you have a better understanding of what that looks like, give me a call.
Yeah, well, in a situation like that, you can't really force them to talk. That sort of turns them off. If you get too aggressive, you just check back by with him every week and just say, hey, how you doing? Have you heard about anybody else that might be interested in selling? And that might say, get him to talk to you, because you see, it's okay if you keep stopping by because you're still driving in there looking for a house. So if you see him out in his yard, just say, hey, remember me? I'm still looking. I'm still looking to buy a house in this neighborhood. Have you thought about selling yours yet? And just not good old boy attitude,
We have another question, Tony. Do you stop at Fizbo signs?
I do if it looks distressed, especially if the house is in excellent condition with a Fizbo sign. I'll stop, but it never pans out because the reason is because they want top dollar and they don't want to pay a commission. Yeah. So, but a Fizbo that needs a paint job or a Fizbo that needs landscaping, always stop at those and make an offer, but the ones that are fixed up, they want top dollar and they're too cheap to pay a commission. And so if you try to talk them down at all, they just go, you're crazy, get out of here. And that's just from experience over the years. Because whenever I see when I go out in the field every weekend, what I'm doing is looking for people that want to sell without for sale signs. And so when I see a Fizbo, I say, well, he wants to sell. Why not make an offer? Because if you're not making offers, you're not making money. So I make an offer because the guy wants to sell, but they always, unless it needs work. A house that needs work, it justifies a low offer. A house that doesn't need work, they're just in foreclosure, their house is nice, and you make a low offer, boy, that's a no-no. I mean, they really get upset because they say, my house is immaculate. You're just taking advantage of me because I'm in foreclosure. So, but anyway, it's 9:00, so we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Just remember, folks, you will never find value as you would find if you sign up for that 3-day hands-on door knocking training. And you don't sign up, don't sit there and say, I'm never going to be a door knocker, so why would I want to go to that? The reason I do the door knocking is to show you that it does give you an edge, but you never, ever, ever have to door knock ever, but at least it shows you there are deals out there. Another reason I door knock through the weekend is because it shows that's one of the best ways to get a deal that weekend. And I want to get a deal for the class. Okay, thank you, Anna. Thank you, Toledo, Rhea. Thank you, Michael, for inviting me out tonight. There's no place I'd have rather been.
Well, thank you very, very much. And thank you for the bids. But I think the biggest tonight, other than the auction, is if you don't take up a mentorship with Tony, and just once taking you through all the steps is enough to be a live local education. So we can't thank Tony enough. It was actually supposed to come, but we had to reconfigure for online. So the one bonus that you're not going to get tonight is to be able to step out afterwards with Tony and talk his ear off. So again, if you have any questions, be sure and text them or chat, put them in chat quickly here, or text them to me and we'll get them to Tony. And his coming up event in September is going to be phenomenal.
It sure is. I mean, it'll pay them back tenfold. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Good night. Have a great week.
Thank you, Tony. I'm going to give you a call in a little bit here.
Okay.
Thank you very much.